Hey, what's up, everybody? Been a little bit since my last video. Here I am. It's mid-December, December 14th, Sunday, 7:56 p.m. So in this video, I'm going to be going over just my thoughts on the next few months, mainly going into like February. So the end of Q1 type of thing. So just next few months, my outlook on pretty much crypto. Um, I feel like equity market's going to be pretty decently correlated as well, but mainly going to stick to crypto charts. I'll go over IWM as well, and a couple metals charts and some extra stuff towards that. But we are going to start now, going over Bitcoin first. So this is the weekly time frame, and I got Blueprint Square 9 on here. So it's also an inverted chart, by the way. So that's why it looks different. All right. Just give a different look on things. And I got a weekly 21 and 200 EMA on here. Okay, so going back, so I started this for March of 2020, and we hit a blue vertical line here. Okay, so a key date, all right, that was November 24th. And some of these dates going back have been, a low period where it's good to buy or a period where it's good to sell. Okay, so I don't know for sure what it's going to be. Um, But so far, we did find a low, a week prior or before to this November 24th key date, right? Which was that low was about 80,000, 80.6K. Now, it's very possible or Bitcoin does break that low and go towards like 75,000, okay, which would be, a little mid-section point here, right, where these horizontals cross. All right, so that's a key area. Or it could go all the way down to like the high 60s where this 200 weekly is coming in at. Okay. And also you got a uh, R1 or yeah, R1 here, support resistance level. Right on the square nine. All right, so that's like a little bearish scenario. In my opinion, I don't believe that's going to happen. The market doesn't care what I think, but I feel like Bitcoin right now is in just a choppy range. Okay. So it's just shopping between like that mid 90s and mid to low 80s. All right. Um, so this key date of finding a low so far is going to go in hand with what I'm going to talk about soon. All right, just wanted to show this weekly chart here. I'm going to turn this off really quick because I do have, yeah, there's also a trend line. This is a logarithmic inverted chart. There's a trend line here. So if it does get tapped, I would expect some sort of low or bounce to come in, if that ever gets tapped. This trend line going from that March low to the November 2022 lows, or so March 2020 to November 2022. All right, let me hide this again. Go down to the daily chart now on Bitcoin, and here we go. So another square nine here. All right, another date coming up is December 18th. Um, I I am curious to see how this is going to play out. The previous dates have been uh, sells, right? This is an inverted chart again, by the way. So there was a little rally going into these blue verticals, and it was a sell period. All right, going into the next like horizontal cross period, which would be January 6th. Okay, so if Bitcoin finds a sell here, I would expect it to follow the trend and wouldn't look to really long again or buy until January 6th. All right, but if Bitcoin is going to go down into this date of December 18th, maybe the inverse is happening where this would actually be a low. And the next key date target would be January 6th. But let's see. Again, just like the taking the square nine off, like this is just kind of like a choppy range. All right, so let's also remember that. All right, just trying to I guess, forecast things here, right? Because why not? Just helps. Extra analysis. Now, going, so since this little choppy range started, something I did yesterday was I wanted to see like the move off the low, how many bars it took in the percent to the high. So if we just found a low today on this little Sunday drawdown, um, it would be a 3 bar average just about with 11%, and that would take us like $97,000. Okay. And now I'm going to go into the 4 hour time frame, and we're hitting the key trend line. No, we did go under it. Let's see if it's going to break down some more or not. Um, we turn on the 4 hour score nine. So the 4 hour score nine, we Bitcoin usually rallies into the black vertical dates. Okay, that's coming in also December 17th. So the daily time frame was December 18th. 4 hour chart I got December 17th. So I'm expecting the 17th, 18th to be a key period for BTC. Let's see what's going on there when that date comes around. Um, and so the vertical points have been, we Bitcoin will rally into it, and these mid sections where the horizontals cross are usually around, it's not exact, around a low period where you would long it into that black vertical. Okay, so like the previous one, the low came in a few bars after. This one here on December 1st, a few bars after. This one came a few bars before, a few bars after here, or before, depending on where you got your stop, so on and so forth. This one, if it's going to be a low, a few bars after, and then take it into December 17th. So yeah, and that 97K target, average target, takes you into a horizontal, midpoint here where these cross. All right, there's no black line like support resistance going across, but pretend there is one, and that will be a key intersection. Um, so yeah, that's Bitcoin. Now, my idea here, so I wanted to just go over Bitcoin really quick, my short-term look on it, I guess you want to call it that. I'm going to go into Tao to talk about this. So for this current cycle, I feel like Tao has been a great gauge of where, you know, trying to figure out where the market's at, sentiment and time. Um, just a great gauge of the market is what I'm trying to get at. And so I have cycles here. This bigger black one is a 210-day cycle. Okay. I'm taking it from trough to trough. So these green zones is a troughing period. Okay. Because this isn't going to be perfect. Okay. You just want to get close to a low. You want to get close to a point where risk reward is good, right? Can't be perfect. All right. So first one over here, around a troughing period. Okay. It was a good buy. Now, the reason I have this green zone here and not just one line going down where the cycle meets or all these cycles meet is because you can take like 10, 5, 10%, maybe even 20 would typically stay with 5 to 10% of a cycle. So since the black one is a 210-day cycle, I'll take 10% of that, which is around 20 days. So I'll go from that section point to the left 20 days and to the right 20 days. So that's what this green zone is. It's a zone, just a period of time where a trough is likely to come in. All right, and then you can combine it with the smaller cycles. You see, so there's like an intersection point here, an intersection point here on the two maroon brownish ones, and then it's also midpoint on the greenish looking one, right? So it all just goes in hand in hand. But I'm looking at this bigger cycle here. All right. So this next one coming up is April 27th of 2026. My base case is that in this period of April 7th, April 27th, May 17th, April 7th through May 17th of 2026 could be a troughing period um, for crypto. And, it could also maybe equities. Don't know. Just strictly talking crypto right now. Um, it could be a troughing period or a good buy point for crypto. I don't know if that's going to be the low and it's up only from there. I'm not sure about that. I'm in the market to make money, and yeah, that right. It's a business. So I, if this trend is going to follow, I would expect in this period of time, April to May of 26, to be a troughing period, and you would you would look to sell going into the midpoint, the apex of this 210-day cycle. Okay, and that would be July. Let me. What is that? July 20th to August 31st of 2026. Okay, so if we go back, right, the first troughing here, this one actually wasn't a good sell. Like if he sold this, he would have been like, "What the f?" Um, okay, so it's not exact. Uh, this other troughing period here, if you took it to the apex of this, you would have sold at a higher price. Obviously, you got to combine other technical forms of analysis with this, right? Um, this is just me trying to forecast. Okay, you're not going to always get the exact highs and lows, nor should you try and do that because then you just might mess yourself up. Um, but it gives you a good trajectory, I guess, so to say. All right, so apex point, there was a high in this range. Okay, apex point, um, you're coming off of a high in this range. Apex point, you're coming off of a high. You rejected that to 50%, in this period here. So I know Tau's coming up to this period now. It's not looking too hot. Um, so I'm I'm thinking that I do think the crypto market is going to rally. I have January 12th to February 23rd, and that does match up with Tau here. I have some other charts showing those dates. All right, this apex point here is January 12th, and then going into February 2nd. So Tau is rallying in this period. Okay, January, February. I would look at that as there's probably more risk to the downside, okay, in that period of time. So the market could be rallying. I'm thinking the market will rally in this period of time, and it could be a good selling point. And then you wait until April, May before trying to get back in. Okay, uh, so let's see if the opposite plays out. Then this could be a good buying point here in January, February, and then you would look maybe inverse. So instead of a troughing period, it's a peaking period, April, May of 26. That could also be a scenario. All right. My base case is the first one I talked about, where the market rallies into January 12th through February 23rd, and then you would look to sell and possibly get back in April, May of 26. So that's just how. Okay. I'm going to go into Doge really quick now. And all right, this is a monthly square of nine on this, and each of the blue vertical lines going back since inception have been good buys. The next point is, a while away from now, June 2027, or sorry, July 2027. Um, just wanted to put that out there. I know it's a while away, but something I found. Okay, now I'm going to go to the 3-day chart, and I got a square nine going off the 2022 bear market low. And yeah, it doesn't look too hot. Definitely don't like it. That there is a decent probability that Doge can hit 11.5 cents. Okay, since it did close under this, R1 pivot here around 14.4. Okay, It is trying to ride this purple horizontal line, um, but ultimately, like it got closure. It's gotten multiple closures on this 3-day time frame under this resistance line now. Um, there's a decent chance it could see 11.5 cents, and possibly even 9. Um, so just going off the square line. If I turn it off, if you go back to April, yeah, it's a decent range. I have another chart where it shows it better, but it is a range potentially here, 13 cents, and then if it does find support here, I would look at minimum around 20 cents. It could come up and meet because that's just what it's done in the past, like 19 to 20 cents when it's bounced on the bottom side of this range. Okay, so that's Doge. Um, Now I'm gonna turn on the work I did on this. I'll go to the daily, and I got some fractals on here. So this orange one is coming off of the top from, what was it, 2021, so this last cycle for Doge, and the trajectory has been following pretty decently. This is saying that we're in a low period between today, December 14th, and December 18th. Okay, remember I have those dates on Bitcoin. Uh, yes, they potentially could be a high. Maybe it will inverse, it will be a low. Okay, we'll have to see when the time comes and combine it with other form analysis, technical analysis. All right, so back to Doge. We're in a potential low period, the 14th through 18th. Okay, this next 4 days. And we can see here on the fractal, so this low, I would match it up with this low, November 22nd. And then these lows here show that, the previous cycle, they didn't really violate too much of this low. So if it's going to be about the same, I wouldn't expect the low of this range, which is where Dogecoin is at right now, to be violated too much. Okay, on closures. All right, and then if this does continue to follow, this could be a low period, and then it would take it into January 13th, January 12th, to maybe find a lower high, and then the bearish trend would continue. Okay, um, so that's just going off this orange fractal. The next two are purple is the 5-year cycle, and blue is the 10-year cycle. So 5 years back from now, 2020, and then 2026. So when we get to 26, you would go 5 years from then, 2021. And then same thing with the 10-year cycle, just 10 years ago. All right, and they do follow a similar trajectory, right? It's pretty interesting. We're not following it too much right now, though. That's for sure. Uh, but again, there's so in this bear market rally of 21, this orange fractal cycle, there is upwards pressure after the 18th going into mid-January. Okay, if we take the 10-year, the blue fractal, there's upwards pressure going on from tomorrow, the 15th, into when? Mid-January. The 5-year cycle in purple, there's upwards pressure going into, again, mid-January. So we got 3 cycles with upwards momentum. The market sentiment is pretty ass right now. We're at a potential higher time frame range low going back to April and a miniature time frame range low. Okay? So, you know, that 3-day time frame, there's risk to the downside, yes. But when I go down to the daily time frame, um, there's not a bad setup with the thesis I have of going up into mid-January, or perhaps it could go into February. Okay, maybe the 5-year fractal does have a high around there. So does this orange, and also the blue a little bit. Okay. The cycles, the fractals cycles are just for trajectory I like to use. All right. So that's this Doge chart. This is also a parallel channel downtrend. So if this does break out to the upside, typically this breaks out to the upside, reverses trend. Don't know for how long, but it's a parallel downtrend. So um, I would look at it, in a good way if it does break out to the upside above that. So my 4 hour time frame Doge chart with the square 9 on here. Let me hide the work I have. Um, we're coming into December 15th is a key date on the vertical, right? And the previous ones, a majority of them have been good longs, right? Or, there's a reversal to the upside going off of it. The first one here in the 22nd of November, November 24th. This one was a high, okay? This one was coming off of a low, December 2nd. This one found a little high. Ultimately found a higher low and then went higher. This is December 8th. And now we're going into December 15th, and where we're at a range low on Dogecoin, right? So I have like a small trading account. I am long Doge from down here. Uh, so I am thinking we go a little bit higher off of this level here. Let me turn this off. I'm going to go to the daily, turn my work on. Um, yeah, I got a little bit going on here. So I got some key dates. All right, going off of the November 4th low, using price, I have a key date of December 25th. Um, from the looks of it, it looks like this could be around a turning point where it could go up into my next key dates, January 14th. Again, I'm getting these dates off of using price, January 14th and then January 17th. So the first day of January 14th is using the September 13th high. That was this freaking significant high on Doge this year. Um, no, around 30 cents. Okay, so January 14th. And then using the high of November 26th, I'm getting January 17th. So I have a little cluster there of mid-January once again. Um, so, it's going to be, you got to pay, I'm going to pay attention to that period of time when we get there. All right. All right. So, forget about the key dates now. Just going off of the levels. All right. This is a level chart. Probably better if I go to the weekly. Put this up. I will turn off that. I'll leave it on actually. That 21 EMA. The blue line is a 21 EMA, by the way. So I got price level charts where I would expect reactions from, right? Does it have to be exact though? So this one is 13.1. We're close to it. Maybe we test it, but we're close to it. And then I got some downward trend lines here. Okay, that Doge could potentially touch. And the big thing I like, not that I like, or I guess I do like, if it does come and test it, is a monthly fair value gap going up to 20.5 cents. It's between 18.8 and 24, 20.4 cents for Doge, and then a weekly fair value gap here, 21.8, 22.6. Okay, so again, my thesis being a rally into mid-January or early end of February. Let's say Dogecoin, talking about Dogecoin specifically here, if Dogecoin is rallying in that period of time and hitting these key resistance areas, because we're coming up into them, they're going to be resistance. I would look at that as potentially a selling point. Okay, um, just that's how I'm going. That's how I'm going for it. Yeah, I do think that we're in a bear market. Sucks. Maybe we're not. I hope we're not. I would like to be wrong on that. But yeah, this it just Bitcoin's a king, and it's broken down some key levels. Um, it doesn't look the best, and then there's timing things with cycles, and I'm sure you guys all know the 4-year cycle. So there's that behind it. Then you also got like momentum oscillators, stochastic, and stuff like that. They're not giving a pretty picture for the coming months or 2026. Midterm years, 2026 is one typically isn't good. Also for the stock market, so you got that going for it too. Uh, I don't think 2026 will end green for crypto or stocks. Um, some stocks will end green. I can get into that later. But the tech stuff, the crypto, don't think it will end green. I do think it will buy the dip year. I think it's going to be opportunity for 27, 28. Um, but that's how I'm thinking about it now. All right, so let's get back into the analysis. Yeah, this chart on Doge, just level to level, price levels, a couple key dates on here. Um, so went over that. Total, this is a weekly chart on total. I do have cycles going on this baby too. Now, oh geez, you know what? I should probably just delete some of this. Let me just delete this stuff. I don't need it. Just to clean it up a bit. Actually, I'm going to go back to that really quick. All right, I'm going to leave that there. These couple of things. All right. So from cycle end to cycle end, it's trough to trough, the big one. All right, and then the smaller ones, some of them are troughs as well. Okay, and troughs meaning bottoming periods or a good period to buy. All right, it's not exact, but pretty close. Um, this next one is coming in September 2026, being a great buy period potentially. All right, this one was October. It wasn't exact, but it was close. Right, it was close. Okay, going over here, November 2018. All right, wasn't exact, but pretty damn close. Going over here, December 2014. Wasn't exact, but pretty damn close. Alrighty. Now, last cycle, the second biggest one. Let me change the color. I'm going to put it to yellow. So this yellow cycle here, the second iteration of it, all right, and the second iteration of it, the midpoint seems to be a high. Okay, going back to 2017, it was close to a high. All right, 2021, close to a high, or pretty much the high. Now, 2025, a high in October. Maybe it breaks in Q1 of 26. Don't know, but as of right now, it looks bearish to me. All right, so there's that. Last cycle, last cycle there was a bear market rally, 20 bars after this midpoint. Okay, if it does that again, you get February 23rd. Okay, February 23rd. Over here, if we go to the 2017 cycle, um, let me do this. 20 bars. 20 bars got you coming off of a lower high. Okay, so how long was this? This was on 17 bars. So let me see what 17 bars would be on this. That would be February 2nd. Interesting, right? I fucking have that. Sorry for my language, excuse me. I have that date on Tau, right? So there's confluence here. All right, everything's correlated. All cycles within cycles, or wheels within wheels, whatever the saying is. Um, all right, so that's going off of these cyclical cycles down here, right? Doesn't look the best. Um, it doesn't. If it's inverse of that, maybe we have a high in 2026 of September. But as of right now, it doesn't look like that. It's going to be the case. Okay. Now, I want to talk about this this structure on total, it's an upwards channel. Everybody that knows basic technical analysis, that's typically not a bullish structure. Now, if this was downward sloping, looking like a bull flag, I'd say that's bullish, right? Something like this over here. I guess it ain't perfect. That was like choppy sideways. Um, but you get the idea, okay, what I'm trying to say. Uh, it's not this isn't really a bullish structure in my eyes, an upwards channel like this. Okay, now I got cycle fractals in here again, all right? The red one, again, is the 2021 top coming off the top. It's not bad, definitely bad. Um, then the blue, or sorry, the orange is the 5-year cycle, and blue is the 10-year cycle, but inverted. I found more correlation on the inverted 10-year cycle for total than the regular one. Hey, it ain't good. It's bearish. All right. Yeah, if you look here, like a high, choppy, there was a low. This is around the low period. Uh, this was choppy, yes. This was also, kind of a range. It came back up around these highs and went over a little bit. Ultimately, it's come back down. Right? The trajectory is there, right? It doesn't have to be exact, but it's about the trajectory. Um, the red cycle, again, it's matching up with that 23rd date of February. So February being a high period. The inverted 10-year cycle saying end of January, early February being a high period, and then it continues down into 26. Is it going to play out like that? I'm not sure, but that's my thesis. I'm going to go into IWM. Why not? Right now, the futures on IWM is getting a red dot on the daily. It's had a great push up. All right. It's had a great push up off of this, and November 21st low, going off the daily 200 EMA. All the EMAs are pointed up. Prices above all the EMAs. I'm bullish on the IWM. I think it's going to get a tiny little pullback here, perhaps close to this 21 daily EMA to let it catch up before it continues this uptrend. This is a 5-year cycle, all right, going on the IWM, and it's been magnificent. Okay, absolutely beautiful, beautiful. This stuff does work, right? And it's bullish until January of, again, January 14th, there is a high on the 5-year cycle, right? Again, January 14th, mid-January, that is a key period in time, all right? I think the IWM could go into, for futures here, around that 2789 level, which would be 1080, 1080 degrees off of the April lows. All right, yeah, short and simple here on the IWM. Probably a short time frame pullback going into around December 18th, so sometime this week for the stock market or IWM specifically, but probably the indices will follow, S&P and Nasdaq, Dow. Uh, but the trajectory is up until January 14th. All right. I'm actually curious let me go to the monthly. Gonna hide everything. So going back 5 years to 2020. Da, 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 da. Yeah, okay. This is January 21. So when we start 26, you can pull a 5-year again if it's going to follow. And the 5-year would go up. There's a key period of March and then November. It's a pretty choppy year. Goes down. Yeah, interesting. All right, well, we get to that. We get to that. All right, but again, daily 5-year cycle here. January 14th being a key period on the IWM. It's an uptrend. until it's not. Follow the trend until the end. Um, Tether dominance, we can look at this really quick, I guess. It confirmed a red dot today on the weekly, but this could be weekly consolidation here, and it can try to push higher. It fucking sucks. I'm not sure here. It's choppy. It is hitting resistance. These two blue levels: 6.476%, 6.746%. What the hell? I just realized that's like similar number, the same number sequence. What the? What? That's interesting. Uh, okay. Um, but if there is a pullback on tender dominance, 5.633% is going to be an area of interest. 5.315%, which is this weekly 21 EMA. Uh, and then I have this gray zone here where this is a Fibonacci support zone. So if tether dominance is coming into this January, February of 26, I again I'm going to look at that as bearish. Like the sentiment, if we're rallying in January, February 26th, sentiment's probably going to be a lot better than what it is now. You're going to see bullish shit all over Twitter, YouTube, whatever. Um, I'm contrarian. I'm going to be contrarian. That's how I'm going at it. All right. All right. So that's tether. Um, can look at platinum really quick. So sure, like most of the metals charts are going to be about the same. Uh, I'm looking at platinum here. It could definitely push higher here. This is the monthly look. It could definitely push higher. There's a couple levels above here that it can touch. I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I would not be a buyer here on metals. I will not. And I'm thinking because platinum here is getting a monthly red dot here showing up now, and um, it's getting pretty overheated. I don't think a significant high is in though for metals. All right, so if this red dot confirms, I'm looking at it that in Q1, Q2 of 26, there's going to be consolidation or a little correction, consolidation for metals, and I would look at that as opportunity to buy again, all right, for metals. And then their uptrend, their higher time frame cycle uptrend is still intact and will continue. All right, so if there's a correction, consolidation period in 26 for the precious metals, I will look at that as a opportunity to become a buyer. Right now, absolutely not. It's very risky. The risk reward isn't there. All right, and there's also some technical things showing that you probably shouldn't be a buyer. You should probably wait and be patient to become a buyer in 26. All right, that's my quick ass rundown on. Sorry, brothers. Quick rundown for metals. Um, this is just a daily chart square line that I'm using to trade on gold. I had a little trade open. I did close along because we're rallying into this point. I want to see it might be a little high and it's going to come down into January 5th. Um, I'm not sure. I will continue to watch this. But platinum was my main go-to talk about the metals idea. All right, so I'm thinking that in 26 it's going to be opportunity. If there's consolidation, correction there for the precious metals. Um, Now, yeah, that's my main idea going into 26 next few months, mainly for the risk assets, crypto. Um, that January February period's pretty key to me. Okay, uh, I do like astrology. I don't understand it totally yet, so I don't incorporate it like myself. No, I don't really talk about it too much. But I've been reading books and everything. It's like learning a whole new language. I will get it one day, working towards it. But some good astrologers are one of their forecasts. His name is Rowan sure you guys, some of you know him maybe on Twitter. Um, he's saying that Q1, January, he's thinking more February, March, could be January, February, March could be a rally, all right? But around that March period is where it could be good to take profits, all right? Because Q3, Q4 could be bearish for Bitcoin, all right? And then he's got a similar type of deal on NVIDIA. So I also look at that, and it fits my thesis that I've come up with by myself a few weeks ago, or not even a few weeks, like over a month ago. Um, so yeah. Now I want to talk about something that could do well in 26. I'm very confident in. So for me personally, if the market is rallying in January, February 26, I will look to sell my crypto um, and rotate my portfolio. And one of the things that I want to be heavy in, right, it's not going to be 100%, but good holding in my portfolio will be Chevron, right? Oil, energy, the energy sector. I think the energy sector is going to do pretty well next year, and it could do well for the next, up, you know, 4 or 5 years potentially. It could be this could be a good new trend starting in energy. So looking at Chevron, I'm going back to years ending in five, besides one over here, which would be 2020. Year ending at zero. It's a 5 year cycle. Go back 5 years from now. But all the rest are years ending in five, like the starting point. Then I went into the high of that from that starting point in January, year ending in five. All right, kind of get where I'm going, or whatever. But okay, I have dates. Okay, um, two averages. So one coming in March of 29, and then one coming in September of 27. And then if you look at this, let me turn all that stuff off. This is a bull flag, right? Like if look at total, like that upwards channel, it's not. I don't like that. It's not that isn't really bullish to me. Um, but when I look at Chevron, right, that's like a bull flag. It's a downward sloping channel coming off of in a higher time frame uptrend. That's bullish to me. That's a bull flag. And the measure move target is around like higher 300s to $400. It's $150 stop right now. Then if I pull up the cycles here, okay, uh, this is like a 5 year, 10 year, 20, 30, 40, 60, so on, or 50. Um, the trajectory is pretty similar on a lot of them, right? All right, so we're getting a low period between December 25, so now through March of 26. I know it's a big time frame. You're like, what the fuck, man? Like, yeah, a lot can happen in this time period. I know. So the job is to go on to the lower time frame, like a weekly, daily, all right? Try and find lows or, buying points for this higher cycle outlook trade. I believe 2026 will end green for energy. So I'm going to look to be a buyer January, February 26, so in the next month or two, and hold this position for at minimum a year. Probably going to be longer. All right, going off of my cycle analysis here. Um, so there's an idea of mine going into 26. Chevron Energy doing well. Then you also got something like XOP ETF. Got an inverse head and shoulders here on the monthly forming. Again, you got a freaking bull flag here, downward sloping channel forming as well. And it's towards the bottom of a range. Right. So I'm pretty interested in the energy sector going into 26 and onward. Um, TLT, I believe TLT will find a low around beginning of January. Maybe it could be mid-January, but Around beginning of January, I believe TLT will find a low, and it could rally into March or somewhere around 26. But it will, regardless, TLT is in a bottoming range potentially if it doesn't just freaking nuke down under this. All right, but going back like 20 years ago, TLT was in this $90 to $80 range. It was under for quite a while, yes, uh, but it was a great value area, right? So I like TLT for beginning of 26 as well. Um, yeah, I have some other stuff here. Uranium miners, um, range. Again, if that metals trade, if metals come down and consolidate, this could be a play. If it comes down and meets this range or something, right? If the chart looks good, we got to look at it at that time. But there's an idea there. Um, then there's the health sector as well. Let me find that chart I really like. MRK, Merck and Company Incorporated. Um, I can't pull it up on TradingView because the chart didn't save freaking TradingView. But here we go on the weekly time frame. That money flow's coming up really, really nice on the weekly. Like that is nice curvature on the weekly time frame. This was taken last week, a week ago from today, actually. All right, so that money flow's coming up really nice on the weekly. Then you see I got this purple cycle here. Well, when I go to the monthly, or zoom out, um, there's some similar formation going on Merck. Okay, so going back again, a year ending in 5 set, but 40 years ago, so a 40-year cycle, it's potentially maybe going to do the same thing, where there's going to be a multi-year uptrend on this baby. Obviously, there's volatility along the way, but the point in time that Merck's at right now, and then going off of the 40-year cycle, and also this formation structure that's pretty similar to 40 years ago, 50 years ago, um, this company in the health sector could be a great opportunity for the years to come. Okay, especially for the next year or two. Um, so, and there's also an asset or stock that I really like going into January, February. I would like to be a buyer of this going in 26. Merck. Moderna, I got to see it, that January, February timeframe. Depends on what it looks like, but this could be a little, nice swing trade play here. Pfizer, I don't like Pfizer. I'm looking at it like it's forming a bear flag, and it will be a short in 26. Maybe I'm wrong on that because you'd be like, well, you're bullish Merck, bearish Pfizer. Again, I'm just looking at the charts, um, the formation and then the cycles. It doesn't look too hot. So I wouldn't like to be a buyer of long Pfizer or holder of Pfizer in 26. I would actually try to get some puts on this thing. It depends on I got to see it. I got to see it line up to do that. But I don't like Pfizer. Disney, yeah, Disney, a huge range. And the funny thing about it, I think it did it a while ago. I just don't have the screenshot here. But looking at the weekly time frame, if Disney were to come back down to 86, $78 and 26, I would like to be a buyer. And obviously depending on the technicals too, but respecting this range, I would like to be a buyer. It'd be a great trade setup for 26. Um, so there's my couple ideas. And yeah, my thesis on crypto. Ooh, nice little bounce. Is that on Doge? Uh, sorry, Bitcoin got a nice tiny bounce. Yep, Doge did. Yeah, I don't have a big little. I just have like a small little account trying to grow this. But yeah, it's my thesis. I believe crypto will rally into mid-January or early Feb, maybe end of Feb. Um, so that mid-January, February is a key period in time. If sentiment's high, or a lot better than where it's at now, price is higher than where it's at now, it could be a good period to sell. Not financial advice, of course, but yeah. If you watched all the way to the end, thank you very much. It's a long video. My bad. Uh, See you in the next one. Thank you. Peace out. Peace.